something serious is brewing silently in the United States. The crazy part, no one is talking about it. From the neon lights of Times Square to the Golden Gates of California, a crisis is developing. International visitors are disappearing. Hotel lobbies that once buzzed with foreign languages now echo with empty silence. Airlines are slashing routes, and tourist attractions are reporting record low international attendance. The result? Communities that depend on tourism revenue are struggling. There's a collapse, and the U.S. is losing up to a staggering $100 billion in tourism and international pullback this year. But this isn't just about empty hotel rooms or canceled flights. This is about America's reputation on the world stage. The trust that took decades to build is being eroded in real time. But before we dive deep into this crisis, make sure to like this video so we can beat the YouTube algorithm and push it for more people to see. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just a travel story. It's a warning about America's true place in the global economy in 2025. Now let's break down what this collapse really means for America and the world at large. Trust me, the consequences reach far beyond the tourism industry itself. To understand just how severe this crisis has become, we need to look at the raw data that's sending shockwaves through the travel industry. But first, do you know that tourism has long been the bedrock of the U.S. economy? In 2024 alone, it added $2.6 trillion to the economy and supported over 20 million jobs nationwide. And now, a lot has changed, and shocking facts are there to prove it. By March 2025, flight bookings from Canada to the U.S. dropped by over 70%, and total cross-border travelers fell by more than 1 million compared to just a year earlier. Airlines responded by cutting 320,000 seats on Canada-U.S. routes. Across Europe, the retreat is just as drastic. There has also been a 20% decline in Germany and Spain. Also, the UK dropped by 15% and France by 12%. What do these numbers mean for America? Every single percentage point drop in international visitor spending equals $1.8 billion in lost export revenue annually. If this decline continues, America stands to lose $21 billion in travel-related exports alone. Additionally, Oxford Economics warns the damage could be even worse. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimates that foreign travel spending will decline 7% for the entire year, potentially costing the U.S. economy $12.5 billion. What does this mean for the people of America? Tourism supports over 20 million American jobs directly, from hotel housekeepers to tour guides, from restaurant servers to taxi drivers. When international visitors stop coming, these jobs don't just disappear quietly. They vanish with devastating speed, leaving entire communities scrambling to survive. But here's what makes this even more alarming. The greatest declines are not coming from America's enemies. They are from its closest allies and biggest tourism markets. If you want to understand the severity of this tourism collapse, look no further than America's relationship with its northern neighbor, Canada. Do you know that Canada, America's largest source of international visitors, is leading the retreat? Canadians alone annually spend more than $400 million in LA, but now they are stepping back. And you know the reason is obvious. In February 2025, President Trump imposed a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. This policy triggered a reaction from the Canadian government, and they decided to clap back. Canada's leaders openly warned their citizens against vacationing in the United States. As a result, Canadian tourism to the U.S. dropped by nearly 20%, making it the biggest decline of any country. Think about that for a moment. These are people who drove across the border for weekend shopping trips, who flew to Florida for winter vacations, who considered American destinations as natural extensions of their backyard. But now they're staying home, or worse, choosing other destinations. And it's not just Canadians pulling back. Air visitors from Mexico also fell 23% in March. The American immediate neighbors who used to feel comfortable crossing U.S. borders are having second thoughts. Many middle-class families who used to drive into the U.S. for quick weekend getaways are staying back. Here comes the big question. If the neighbors are pulling back this dramatically, how about the rest of the world? The answer becomes painfully clear when we look across the Atlantic. There, we see an even more troubling pattern. While our North American neighbors are retreating, European visitors are abandoning America at rates That would be unthinkable just a few years ago. One of these countries is Germany. Germany used to be one of America's most reliable travel buddies, but recently, visits from German tourists have dropped nearly 30%. But it's not only Germany. Even Denmark is joining the revolution. Travel from Denmark to the U.S. dropped 34% in just 1 month. Danish students and tourists are opting for friendlier, more predictable places like the Netherlands or Canada. France is also following a similar path. A growing number of French tourists and students are skipping trips to the U.S. because of racial tensions and ongoing protests. Instead, they're heading to countries that feel safer, calmer, and more welcoming. How about China? The decline is worse, and it is no surprise since the relationship between the U.S. and China is already strained. China has formally told its people to avoid travel to America. Now, Chinese tourists are simply taking their money elsewhere. Politics aside, they're just not feeling welcome in the U.S. anymore. But let's stop and think again. Why are all these things happening? Well, a lot is involved. One major reason is because of unfavorable policies. Earlier this year, the United States doubled its tariffs on European steel and aluminum. As a result, the European Union was triggered and couldn't hide its frustration. They retaliated with stricter visa rules and reduced promotional spending on American destinations. But it didn't stop there. Multiple European countries have issued travel advisories for their citizens traveling to the United States. Here's the twist you didn't see coming. Apart from the fact that these advisories are retaliatory measures against the harsh tariffs, there's another secret reason behind it. Some travelers from these countries have reported that immigration officials detained and deported them while traveling to the United States. This created fear and uncertainty among potential visitors. Travel forums and social media are filled with stories that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. European tourists with valid visas are being subjected to hours of questioning. Canadian families are being turned away at the border for reasons they can't understand. And business travelers who've been visiting America for decades are suddenly finding themselves under intense scrutiny. Consequently, due to the way international visitors are now treated at U.S. borders, a negative perception is growing about visiting America. For many international travelers, the question isn't whether they'll have a good time in America. It is whether they'll even make it past the border without any incident. So many travelers are boycotting America and traveling to other places rather than deal with the uncertainty of U.S. border procedures. And guess what? This perception has created a ripple effect that is affecting the American economy. While major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Miami have diverse economies that can absorb some of the shock, it's the smaller communities that are dependent on tourism that are feeling the heat. Take Florida, for example. Hotels are reporting canceled bookings by the thousands. Restaurants that once served bustling crowds of international visitors are cutting staff and reducing hours. Even tour operators who specialized in showing America to foreign guests are going out of business entirely. Now, let's do the math with this scenario. When a German family cancels their 2-week vacation to Disney World, it's not just the theme park that loses money. It's the hotel where they would have stayed, the restaurants where they would have eaten, the rental car company, the souvenir shops, the local attractions they would have visited, and dozens of service workers who depend on tips from international visitors. Multiply that by millions of canceled trips, and you get to understand why entire communities are facing economic collapse. Travelers are now redirecting money they would have spent in America toward destinations they perceive as more welcoming and predictable. Countries like Mexico have seen a surge in Canadian and European travelers who previously would have chosen American destinations. Caribbean nations are reporting record bookings from visitors who once split their vacation time between the islands and the U.S. mainland. But that's not all. European cities like Paris, Rome, and Barcelona are also posting record tourism revenues. Here's the most shocking part. In 2025, the United States is the only major economy projected to see a decline in international visitor spending. Imagine that for a second. Out of 184 major economies worldwide, America stands alone in its retreat from global tourism. It is obvious that there is something wrong somewhere, and sadly, it is causing more harm than good. Here's why it's a disaster. The shift in tourism patterns is not just about lost revenue. It is creating a dangerous dynamic that threatens America's long-term competitiveness in the global market. The fact is, it's not just traditional competitors benefiting from America's decline. Southeast Asia Pacific countries are launching targeted marketing campaigns to attract international travelers who are avoiding America. They're highlighting their stress-free visa processes, friendly border procedures, and stable political environments as key advantages over the U.S. tourism experience. And while this problem keeps on escalating, the response from America's top leaders has not been encouraging. President Donald Trump brushed off concerns over the steep tourism decline. He told reporters the decline was not a big deal and assured them to just wait for the real numbers to come out. On the flip side, states like California, which directly feel the pain of lost travelers, are not buying those sentiments. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has been leading a diplomatic push to win visitors back, especially from Canada. He launched the California Loves Canada campaign and publicly reminded travelers that California is a world away from Washington's political noise. In his appeal, Newsom said the political tension in D.C. should not keep anyone from experiencing California's beauty and welcoming spirit. Despite his genuine efforts, it seems like the damage has already been done. The tourism industry calls this reputational risk, a risk that is incredibly difficult to reverse once it takes hold. Countries that develop negative tourism reputations can spend decades and billions of dollars trying to rebuild trust and attract visitors back. And the fact is, it is happening right before our eyes. Tourism analysts say America may not fully recover until 2029. Just imagine. That means America will lose 4 more years of revenue, jobs, and growth. But what would it take to turn this around? The answer is more complex than most people realize. Reversing this tourism collapse won't happen through marketing campaigns or discounted airfares. It requires fundamental changes in how America treats international visitors, from the moment they apply for visas to the moment they leave U.S. airports. America doesn't just lose tourism revenue when travelers are stepping back. It loses influence, connections, and soft power that took generations to build. Will America recognize this crisis for what it is before it's too late to reverse? Will it choose to rebuild its reputation as a destination that welcomes the world? The question isn't whether America can afford to fix this crisis. The question is whether America can afford not to. So over to you. What specific measures should America take to set things straight? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to get more current travel updates.